Jackie.
We're live.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us. This is the 10K Project. My name is Tawana Rivers, and we are here again to love on and highlight another amazing Black founder that is doing amazing things. Oftentimes I reference that some of these projects are life-changing. This one truly is, and you will see in what capacity that is so. Welcome to all of you who are watching us via live stream, to those of you who are hanging out here live with us in Zoom. Thank you so much. And to all who will watch this replay, we want to see you next time live in the Zoom. So come hang out with us. But we thank you all for joining us. And I want to introduce to you Dr. Letitia Rowe, who is the president, CEO, founder of Honeycomb Clinic. She's going to tell us all about Honeycomb Clinic. But before I turn it over to her to do that, I want to show you guys the campaign page. This campaign is on WeFunder. We visit WeFunder often, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. However, I do want to show those of you who may be new to the 10K project and to investment crowdfunding, I want to show you guys how to navigate the page. And so I'm going to share my screen. Right. So this campaign, Honeycomb Clinic, is a co-working space for physicians. So think about that. All of your favorite physicians in one place servicing you. I'm not going to give it all away because there's a lot to unpack here, but I am excited about this and I cannot wait till the franchise opportunities come open so that I can have a space like this in the city I live in. But currently, this campaign is in the testing the waters phase. And what that means for those of you who are new is Dr. Rowe is in the process of completing her Form C, which is that SEC document, and getting all of that done. But while that's happening, she's testing the waters of the campaign. So just like we test the water before we get in the bathtub, right? We dip our toe in it to see if it's too hot. She's testing the waters of this campaign to see how many people are interested in the campaign. So tonight we're going to hear this presentation. And if you are interested in investing and moving forward to the next phase of investing, you're going to reserve your spot, right? So as you guys can see, the reservation amount is a minimum of only $100. I always tell you, don't just do the minimum. If you can do more, absolutely do more, but that's the entry point. And then once all of the legal forms are finished being filed, then you'll get an email. Everybody who reserves their spot will get an email to reconfirm the actual investment. And it's at that point that the funds will be taken and put in escrow, right? So tonight, if you love what you see, you are going to reserve your spot if you feel like this fits in your portfolio. Currently, we are still in the early bird phase. There's still 80,600 left in that early bird. And what that means is that you're going to get into the investment at a favorable valuation, right? And so, I always tell you guys, if you're going to invest in something, if there is an early bird, you want to get it. It's like the sale rack, right? You're going to do it anyway, right? Then you definitely want to get in early enough so you can take advantage of the additional perks, right? In addition to the early bird bonus, there are also some perks associated with this campaign, and you see those listed down here underneath the early bird bonus, right? And then I always want you to look at the entire campaign page. I know you guys are tired of hearing me say that, right? But it's important to read through every single thing, click on every attachment, look at every video, read every article that talks about the progress that the company has gone through. Like it's part of your due diligence process, right? So you want to do that. Now, because we're still in the testing the water phase, typically your Form C and some of those other legal documents are not out here yet. So you want to go back to the campaign and you want to research those once those are filed. Also, the ask a question section. tonight you're going to be able to ask any and everything that you feel like you want to know. You've got the founder right here. Why wouldn't we take advantage of that time? But if you think of something later, right, tomorrow, later on in the week, this is where you want to come to ask that question. And you guys know I love this section because oftentimes I learn things from questions that other people ask that I didn't even think to ask. And so you want to put your question here, and Dr. Rowe and her team will respond to you here as well. All right, with that said, I am going to stop sharing and I am going to turn it over to the founder herself to tell you all about Honeycomb Clinic and how this idea came to be, and how you can be a part of their journey. Thank you so much, Dr. Rowe, for joining us. And we'll put some respect on that name. You are Dr. Rowe tonight, honey. You can be Letitia another night, but we're putting some respect on your name.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. As she mentioned, I'm Dr. Letitia Rowe. Most people call me Tisha, and I'm so excited to share the opportunity to help build healthcare clinics in our communities with you. And we're doing it in a very innovative way. We're combining real estate, healthcare, and technology, and we want you to be a part of this. So, just a quick overview of what we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to talk about the opportunity. And when I say the opportunity, I want you to understand the healthcare space, because very often what I hear from people is, I don't invest in healthcare because I don't understand it. So when it comes to questions, don't walk away not knowing what's going on in healthcare today, because that benefits all of us. I'm going to try to keep the chat open. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, I'm more than happy to answer. As she said, this is meant to be interactive, informative. We're family here, right? The 10K Project family. Then we're going to talk about the solution, what we've been doing in the past 3 years to really disrupt healthcare, because this is truly about us creating better healthcare solutions for us, which will result in better outcomes for us. And that is critical. This is a business with a purpose. Then we're going to talk about the market and competition. We're not the only ones doing it, but we are the only ones doing it in communities of color. And then we're going to talk about the money, because when it comes to business and investing, baby, show me the money. And last but not least, we will talk about the next steps. And if you see this and you're like, absolutely count me in, we'll talk about how you can be involved, what you can get, and what your return on investment will be. So let's talk about the opportunity. What is Honeycomb Clinic? It is a medical co-working space. And I really like to keep this really simple. If you've ever visited a salon park where beauticians or estheticians rent a room and they just, instead of having a whole salon, they just have the space that they need. If you've ever gone to any of these spaces, we are doing this for doctors. We're helping doctors, especially minority doctors, to go into their own private practice. And we're going to talk about why that's extremely important when it comes to healthcare and healthcare outcomes. And we call it a medical co-working space with a fitness twist, because one thing that makes this very unique, why would a doctor come to Honeycomb versus a office building with just, a couple rooms? We have a full fitness center, nutrition center, and patients really love it. So we're the honey, we're bringing in the bees, and then the patients get all the benefits. So one of the most important things you have to think of when you decide to open a business, whether you're doing it on a local, national, or international level, is where am I going to place this business? Because placement is huge when it comes to the success of the company. And we're located in Houston, Texas, in the Texas Medical Center. If you are not familiar with the Texas Medical Center, it is the largest medical center in the world, not only in the nation, but in the world. It fluctuates between 1 and 2, but Texas in particular leads healthcare. And Houston specifically is home to the Texas Medical Center. And Houston has more physicians by far than any other state or city in the entire nation. There are over 18,000 physicians in Harris County. Number 2 is Dallas with about half. So if you're going to test any healthcare concept, not only co-working, Houston and Texas, yes, Google it. I assure you, facts on facts on facts. Houston is the biggest when it comes to healthcare. Over 366,000 people are employed in the Texas Medical Center, and there are 10 million encounters daily, right? So think of all these office buildings, all these offices, and what do physicians need? They need a place to work, right? And we're providing that for those who want to work for themselves. So we're going to give a general overview of the business opportunity, and then we'll do a deep dive. So the business opportunity, this is a medical co-working facility offering multi-specialty services focused on the health and wellness of adults 18 plus. So all of your doctors for a patient, this is a one-stop shop. Our economy model, it's B2B. Physicians rent rooms for their clinical services, but it's also B2C because patients have access to multiple doctors in one space. Our competition, there's no other co-working space for doctors in Houston, but there are wellness spaces. So for aestheticians and other services, so we include that because that's also a healthcare co-working, and there's one here called Wellness Space. In terms of nationally, if you want to take a quick screenshot of this slide, do your, like we said, due diligence and research. These are some of the other co-working spaces in America. We share MD, Co-work Medical, ClinicCube, Dropdex, and later on in the presentation, we'll talk about why we're different, other than what has already been stated. Our growth strategy, currently there are over 770,000 franchises in America. And this is my initial deck, unchanged. From the beginning, I said we were going to make this a franchise, and we're so excited to be partnering with Black Box Franchises, which helps bring African-American businesses into franchising, and we're currently in the process of franchising our model. Our goal is to franchise in year 3 and celebrate with me because in just 2 days, we are celebrating our 3rd year anniversary of Honeycomb Clinic. So now let's talk about the solution, right? And the problems that we're solving for. I am an MD, but I also have an MBA. And when I was in business school, one of the things that I was told is if you're going to start a business, find a problem and create the solution. So let's talk about the problems in healthcare. Some of the data goes back to pre-COVID times. Healthcare can be slow with data, but basically physicians are working really hard and their incomes are not matching the work. You might find that when you go into a doctor's office, the doctor's smiling, they're caring, but you don't see what happens behind closed doors. You don't see the struggles that they're facing. During COVID, when nurses were getting bonuses on bonuses, I know several doctors that were laid off, cut, or salaries cut, right? So the doctors feel burned out and they feel undervalued, which is the driver for private practice. And this is really important because these doctors are now our target market to help them. I'm big on data, so this is just some of the data to show you. Physicians, even post-COVID, still struggle to recover, had to deal with loss of revenue. 81% of physicians post-pandemic were still struggling to get their visits up. So physicians love what they do. They love caring for patients, but they don't necessarily have the business acumen to succeed on their own. So we're not only providing service, we're also providing that business support. And I see in our comments, an insurance broker says that, we're seeing a lot of those changes. So really, it's time to take medicine back. And long ago, way before I started practicing, doctors controlled medicine. We let that go. And by we, I mean the profession, not my generation of doctors, but it's time to take it back. It's time to take control. And Honeycomb Clinic is going to be a big part of doing that by helping doctors to start their own practice. So what are the trends in healthcare right now? And I'm going to cover across the board a few examples. HCA Healthcare, this is 2024, reached $70 billion. That's a hospital. We're not going into hospitals, but it's an ecosystem, right? Clinics feed the hospitals, right? Cigna total revenue increased. This is not their total revenue, increased to 247 billion, a 27% increase. GE Healthcare, full year revenue, 19.6 billion. Privia Healthcare, which Honeycomb happens to be partnered with, reported revenues of $480 million, up 15.6% year on year. So this is exciting, right? And the takeaway I want you to have from this slide, if nothing else, forget Honeycomb for a second. If you are not investing in healthcare, you're missing out, right? We don't talk in M's normally. We're talking B's and T's. And so for us as African Americans to be often the sickest and we're not participating in healthcare is truly a disservice. So let's talk about how we can participate in this and why physicians are looking for options, right? And I want you to really let this slide sink in. Adjusted for inflation, physicians, MDs, their pay decreased 26% over the last 20 years. What other profession is the entire industry making more money? I just showed you examples of hospitals, insurance companies, health systems, and the pay is going down. And wait, what? Like I'm reading the comments, guys. That's how I feel, right? So physicians are now starting to wake up and say, this isn't right. I'm being taken advantage of. I want to figure out how to do this on my own. And this slide shows you the adjustment for consumer prices, inflation, and look what's happening to the doctors, right? Price of medical school is going up. They still have to buy a house. Kids still want to go to private schools. They want that nice car, but everyone else is making more except for them. And the only option to adjust this is to go into business for yourself. So now we're going to talk about the solution and why it's important, not just to make more money, but truly to provide better care. So what are we doing? We're creating working spaces that are responsive to the productivity and administrative needs of today's medical practitioner, that young, business savvy doctor that is ready to go out there and create their own way. I posted yesterday, I was told to stay in my lane, so I made my own highway. And there's a whole generation of doctors like me that are ready to take control of their careers. And the beauty of putting multiple doctors, especially doctors of color, in the same space is you create an ecosystem. So when I have a cardiologist in my office, I'm sending her 20 patients a week. When I have a dermatologist in my office, I'm sending them 30 patients a week. A GI doctor, I'm referring colonoscopies. So not only are we creating a system where they get space, but we're also creating a referral service. And there is a massive opportunity, as I've shown you in the slides before, for us to be participating in this. And someone said crazy, I always think of doctors as making big bank. Adjust for loans, and they're not. But they should be, but they're not. And if you have a personal relationship with any doctor that's willing to be vulnerable, and they're very high yielding specialties, but the average doctor is not making the money the rest of the world thinks they are when you adjust for student loans and other expenses. This is a quote from Dr. Murali. She used to be one of the presidents of the Texas Medical Association, and just confirming what I'm showing you here. A co-working model, it's not just space, it's fixing the overhead, it's fixing the poorly planned practices. You no longer have to go it alone. You can take charge of your career as a part of a team. So if you're ever in Houston, highly encourage you to come by, see what we're doing. But these are some of the things that make Honeycomb unique, why a patient would want to come and why a doctor would want to practice here. Active waiting, we have Peloton bikes in the waiting room. We have a full kitchen, nutrition bar. Instead of just chairs, we have desks where people can sit, talk. We have priority triage. If people are sick, we bring them right back. We do yoga in the waiting room, so full fitness center. So most people that come say this is unlike anything that they'd ever seen, right? And so this is our mock-up. If you go to our Instagram page, there are videos on there. You can kind of see what it looks like. But this was our initial rendering when we first started out. And definitely every location, we plan to keep the nutrition, the fitness, because we really don't want to just be another clinic where patients are a number and it's all about profits. We're pushing health and wellness in our communities. So this is just a idea, if you can visualize what honeycomb is, it's not what you would imagine going into any doctor's office. And one of the biggest parts is being co-working. Doctors don't have offices, so we do have a doctor's lounge where the doctors have TVs, couches, relaxation areas, and this is a way that we make sure that we're taking care of our doctors so they can take better care of the patients as well. So let's dig deep dive into the solution and what do doctors actually get other than a room to see a patient. They get billing support. They get credentialing support. And for those who don't know, credentialing is how you sign up for insurances. They don't have to hire any staff. The staff is built in, but they do have the option to bring their own staff. They have space to see their patients. They're billed based on the number of rooms they choose. So they can have 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms, as many rooms as they need, and as many days of the week that they need. They have the option to add on a private office, and everyone has access to the doctor's lounge. Because we are a full entity, we also give them access to continuing medical education, marketing support, and legal support as needed. For our doctors who are virtual, we're building out an entire weight loss virtual aspect of Honeycomb Clinic. They get a virtual office. If they're in our city or in their city, they can drop in and use the doctor's lounge, and they have an answering service as well. So these are all the things that we're offering doctors besides their room. So clinical benefits, they have a front desk receptionist, their exam rooms are personalized to their needs. We help them with financial projections for their practice because we want them to be successful. We offer billing support, patient marketing, care coordination, and basic clinical and clerical supplies are included. Non-clinical benefits, the doctor's lounge. We do host events in the clinic as well. Our doctors get access to valet parking, mailbox services, discounted therapy services inside the clinic as well, and they have utilization of the conference room. So this just gives you an idea of our exam rooms, bright, cheerful, our colors, yellow, white, and gray. People walk in and say, I feel happy here. In terms of billing, I do see we had an insurance broker on the call tonight. The doctors do have the option to opt into our insurance plans, so they don't have to get credentialed on their own. For those who do, we charge a 40% management fee. To put that in perspective, average primary care makes about $250,000 in Houston, but they generate about 1.5 million for medical practices. So if I told you, hey, for 40%, I can help you get to $1 million. Now, instead of bringing home 250, you're bringing home 600,000. That's a win-win to me. So that's where the management fee comes in. And these numbers are already proven. I see a question in the chat. Will the billing eventually be as a group, or each suite space will bill independently? So we currently have both options. The provider has the option to come under Honeycomb Clinic as a 1099, but we do have some doctors that have already established a practice and have their own biller and billing method, and they can keep that independently. So if they bill under us, that's when the 40% management fee comes in. If they bill themselves, they just pay the flat rate for the space. And so just to give a comparison, cost of practice can vary greatly. So I use my first year as an independent doctor pre-Honeycomb as the benchmark for this. I spent $150,000 my first year in practice. Instead, our Honeycomb doctors for space are paying $2,000 per month, and that's about $25,000 per year. So huge saving, which allows the doctor to sustain and stay in practice longer versus taking out loans or eating up these funds in your first year. And this is the process to become a member of Honeycomb. Doctors do have to actually apply. It's not just anyone who wants to come. We want to protect our reputation, our credibility. Once we verify that this is a doctor that's a good fit for our clinic and our brand, we then go through the credentialing process. If they choose, we assign them their space. We begin marketing them to our 10,000 patients, and then they can start seeing patients and take advantage of all the services available. So as I mentioned earlier, we're not the only one doing it. So let's take a look at who else is doing it. So locally, as I mentioned, there are no other physician co-working spaces in Houston at this time that I'm aware of, and I try to stay on top of everything. So there are some wellness spaces. So that's the second column. First column is Honeycomb. You have your managed space, flexible membership, your electronic health record, 24-hour access, digital marketing, mail service. Everything to the right is our health labs, incubators. They're not for doctors. So if you're from Houston or Texas, Johnson & Johnson is a research lab. TMCX, they host healthcare startups. These are not places that you can go to practice medicine. So that's what really sets us apart locally. Now let's talk about national competition. So here you have Drop Desk. We share CliniQ, which is the logo there in Cowork Medical. And what I'll tell you is you can deep dive this if you want to watch the replay. But in terms of cost, we're the cheapest. We're the most flexible, we're the most accessible, and we offer more than any other co-working space nationally. And so some charge as much as $750 per day, and there's surgeons who can afford that, but primary care can't. So we're priced much better and offer much more services. And again, I consider our niche of serving communities of color a great strength. And none of these other spaces are targeting and servicing communities of color. And our next step, along with franchising, is going to be to develop our Honeycomb app. We actually have a patient-facing app on the market, but we're also going to be building a app for physicians where they can book their patient rooms the way they would book an Airbnb. So instead of being stuck to one location, they can say, if you're familiar with Houston, I want to be in Sugar Land on Monday. I want to be in Humble on Tuesday. I want to be in Katy on Wednesday. I want to be in Pearland on Thursday. And so you're no longer limited to growing a practice in only one location. And then you have some amazing doctors that have built a brand and a following. They can say, hey, I'll be in New York. I want to see patients for a couple days in New York. They do have to be licensed wherever they practice, but we really want it to be where you pull up your app, okay, where am I practicing today? And we're seeing in other spaces that freedom, right? People are working from home, they're moving to other countries. So we want to give doctors that same freedom and flexibility other industries are experiencing when it comes to practicing medicine. This is a few of our milestones. Acquired a property in 2021. We opened in 2022. We opened our lab in 2023. And in 2024, we were awarded a $500,000 grant through Harris County to serve the community. And then just a deeper dive into our milestones. We do a lot of teaching, we do research. So we have had partnerships with Johns Hopkins. We launched our WeFunder in December, and we have a total of 4 physicians actively engaged in our co-working space. And as of this month, we hired our COO, which will allow us to grow and expand. So super excited about our next chapter, which is going to be franchising. I'm not going to dig into this too much, but if you're going to invest into a company, you want to know that they have a solid marketing strategy. So just an overview, we've done very well with marketing. We have about 5 to 10 new patients in the practice every single day. And if you know healthcare and if you know how extremely competitive healthcare in Houston is, we're competing against the big boys, Methodist, Memorial Hermann, Kelsey-Seybold, and patients are coming to us at a rate where we're looking for more providers because we have sometimes a month waiting list for people to come in if we don't have cancellation. So this is just an overview of some of the things we've done to market the business over the last 3 years. And in terms of our financials, we do, operating transparency. We want to be able to, anyone that's wants to invest, that wants to see a full model, that's available. But what I will tell you is we've tripled our revenue since year one. We are profitable. And our projections for this year currently is we are up 19% from this time last year and on track to exceed last year's revenue by 200,000. So anyone that wants more, we had our first call with our franchise consultant, and he was like, your margins are double what we would want to see in any franchise, and your financials are solid. And we've also had our financials independently audited by a third party as well in preparation for our crowdfunding. So anyone that wants to deep dive into that, more than happy to do one-on-one calls as needed. But I wanted today to be very high level, especially since, we haven't had NDAs and a lot of this information is going to be shared publicly. So right now we're at 1 co-working space. Our goal is to open our second by next year under a franchise, and then continue to expand from there. And so here we have over 30 physician investors already, and we're looking to add non-physician investors to the fold. And physicians understand healthcare, they understand the challenges, they understand the pain points, and the fact that physicians are willing to invest in us is a testimony to the viability and the opportunity here with this model. In terms of our expenses, this just kind of gives you an overview of where we're spending: administrative, marketing, maintenance. Our building expense is a huge part of our expenses, and utilities. And again, we have 3 years of financials audited available for anyone that needs to see that in greater detail. Now, let's talk about the money. What are we trying to make here? What are we trying to do? So obviously in WeFunder, minimum investment is $100. And I want everyone to know I set a goal of having 30 new investors this month. And if you do nothing but that $100, we will be thankful that you've helped us reach that goal. And we want to hit our 50,000 so we can unlock the next level on WeFunder. But I'm sure there are people on this call, or people who have a lot more than $100 to give. So as I say to my patients, the best thank you is a referral. If you've enjoyed this presentation, if you wouldn't mind sharing our WeFunder link on LinkedIn, we would appreciate that. And this is what we're trying to give back. So annual return is going to be 15%. For our initial investors, we promised them that they would get their first return in 3 years. So this will be our first year that our initial investors will get their dividends. And that was the understanding that we were going to pour money back into the business to build the business. But for those that come in this year and beyond, everyone will get dividends from that point forward. So your annual return compounded over the 5 years, you can see here the returns that you're looking at, but then when you exit, that's when you're really going to make your big return based on our valuation. And we hope that you will hold and stay with us for the long term. But again, anyone that wants to understand these numbers in greater detail, full pro forma, full projections, we actually just had them updated, and would be more than happy to do a deep dive with you to see how you get to this return. How do we turn your 250,000 into 1.5 million over 5 years? Because healthcare is an extremely profitable industry, where the norm is the doctors get very little and the CEOs take everything home. And we're taking back control of medicine and saying, we can do this for ourselves, we can do it better, and we can serve our communities better. When doctors get to practice on their own, they can get to spend more time with their patients. I make double what I made as an employed physician. I spend more time with my patients and I work less. And that's what every doctor in America wants. You shouldn't spend 12 to 15 years of your life in school and feel like you are someone that's just there to generate money for others. What's our exit strategy? I truly believe that we can hold this for a long time, but I think there will be a lot of opportunity. The Apples, the Amazons, insurance companies, they may come and make us an offer we can't refuse, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. About myself, I didn't talk a lot about myself. I don't like talking that much about myself, but I'm getting better at that. I tell myself, my tagline, if you see me online, is I'm not your average doctor. I got my MBA during my residency. I was in business school, residency, and pregnant with a newborn at the same time. And I finished my residency and my MBA on time. So that will tell you a little bit about my hustle, my drive, my grit, and my work ethic. I love what I do, and I love empowering other doctors to do the same. I have been featured in Forbes. I've been top 40 for our top medical associations. I've spoken at some of the largest conferences, the Urgent Care of America, the American Telemedicine Association, and I still have, 4.7 reviews on Google because I love what I do. I shared these things about me just to say that I am no stranger to hard work. And if you do invest in Honeycomb, you're investing in me. And I don't take that lightly. With anything that we do, we can always expect challenges, and we can always expect, and I've had my fair share of challenges along this journey. But to me, medicine is a ministry, and I'm walking in my purpose. And I want others that see this vision, see the opportunity for us to have better healthcare for us, live longer, because we have doctors that look like us, able to take care of us. I see a question. Do you promote doctors coming to the home, supporting home birth? Okay, let's dig into it. I support doctors practicing on their terms. So if you're asking me in general, do I think home births are okay? Yes, I do. I think that, once upon a time, that's how people had babies, but you have to have a emergency strategy in place. Family medicine doctors deliver babies. So I've delivered up to 15 kids in one day. And I can tell you, every single time I delivered a baby, I prayed, because part of our training is knowing when it goes smooth, I could deliver it with one hand. But you get a shoulder dystocia, or someone posted the other day 6 cords wrapped around the baby 6 times, C-section. Anyone that does a home birth, be close to a hospital and have a quick plan, because that can be life or death. But I support doulas. I support midwives, because sadly, especially Black women, and even more so educated Black women, the data has shown we're going to be the ones that die in the hospital. So I understand and respect the kind of care you can get in the hospital, but at the end of the day, nothing replaces compassion and being seen and heard. So that's my thought on that. Doesn't have much to do with Honeycomb. We don't dictate how people practice, where they practice, and when they practice. But if you just want my personal opinion on that, that's that. In terms of Honeycomb, we just support doctors doing what they want to do in practicing. I say men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie, right? 0.27% of total VC capital goes to Black women. That's from Project Diane. Maybe it's gone up a little, but it's not over 1%. And this does not change unless we become the venture capitalists that are willing to invest in ourselves. Every close friend and sister I have owns a luxury handbags. We have to start investing in businesses and startups the way we invest in the luxury goods. That's the only way this changes. And I started this off by saying this is not just about money. When you can go into a clinic and know that you have your cardiologist, dermatologist, primary care doctor, and OB-GYN under one roof instead of having to go 6 places, and they all care about you, that's a different level. We're going to unlock a different level of health, which overflows into our work, our productivity, our family life, and everything else. So when you invest in physicians that look like you being able to not just survive, but thrive, you're investing in your own healthcare. And we have the power to change this. I'm a realist, but I'm an optimist. And I believe brick by brick, one by one, every single person on this call is a VC. And almost everybody has $100. So if you don't do anything else but share, I'm thankful. But I hope that you will also take that step and invest in us as well. It's a prime real estate opportunity. It's an opportunity for a healthcare co-working model, which is innovative, is med tech, and demand is there. Physicians want to be on their own. They just need help and they need someone that will show them the way. So these are some of our levels. Again, you can go with the 100, but we do have up to 500K opportunities available. And I know that those opportunities are out there. My email is tshero@thehoneycombclinic.com. Reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on social media. If you have any questions beyond this presentation, or if you happen to be watching the replay, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I'll stop there and open up for Q&A, but I just want to thank you all so much for being on the presentation today. We appreciate you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Oh, you covered so much. Guys, go ahead and put the rest of your questions in the Q&A. I've jotted down some that I have, but that was such a thorough presentation. So thank you so very much. Actually, as you were talking, I was crossing out some of my questions. I'm like, oh, she answered that one. So wonderful, wonderful job. Okay, first of all, the benefit package for the physicians is bananas, okay? I mean, you threw everything in there but the kitchen sink. I love how you've almost built this community in 2 ways, right? You've built it around the physicians, but then when I look at the setup of the waiting area, you're also going to be building that within the patient population as well, right?
Yeah.
It becomes this place that I'm not stressing about going to. Like I'm actually excited about going to the doctor's office. And that's something I know a lot of people have anxiety about,
Yeah.
right? And so, I mean, I know I do sometimes. I just canceled an appointment yesterday because I was like, I just don't have it in me, right? I mean,
But
and I know
patients literally say that. Like I have patients who are like, Dr. Rose, the first time I've ever like felt like this in a doctor's office. And that's just from the aesthetics. But then I have patients who are like, I had an older patient and he said, my other doctor never did this. And I said, never did what? He said he never touched me, right? So we have our elderly patients out there going to these clinics where they're clicking on computers and they don't see us worthy of being touched. You know, I've had patients breaking down crying in my office and they're like, I don't know how to explain it, Dr. Rowe, but no one looks at me and smiles at me the way you do. And so I'm super passionate about it. Like you said, creating this experience where we know we're seen and heard and taken care of.
I felt that in my core just now. I actually shared this. I went to the doctor 2 months ago, I think it is now. She did not touch me. Like, you know, when you were little, like I told you to say, say, you know, they touched your neck, they looked in your throat. Like there was some physical contact. She was nice. She asked some good questions. We had a little dialogue. But when I was leaving, I thought, have I ever been to the doctor and not been touched at all? And
Mhm.
I had never been. And
Yep.
it took me off guard. And then of course I was irritated when I got the bill because I'm like, I wasn't even touched. This bill is up. Well, how much? Right. But it did make me think, where have we come in a medical society, right? Where the people I am trusting the most to make sure I stay healthy, right? That I get the right advice on how to stay healthy and that I can trust enough to follow that advice, right?
Yeah.
And there's no physical contact. And where have we come and how did we get here? That was the other thing, is how did we get here? Like, and
Yep.
even though I get it, right? CPT code, sometimes you only got 15 minutes, you got another patient, I get it, but not even a handshake, like not a, not a nothing. Like
Yep.
it was sad. And I did leave feeling a little empty, like, wow,
Yeah.
that like
It,
it was a miss.
it is. The complete opposite is my patient today. I did see patients today. She's like, I love you, Dr. Rowe. And so when my patient could close with that, and by the way, I love you, like that to me is what it should feel like going to the doctor after you've established a relationship that I'm seen, I'm heard, and man, I really care about this person. I do see a question in the chat. Are the target doctors GPs only? No. The goal is that you as a patient can get access to as many specialists as possible in one place. And so that we can compete with these larger systems. So I know, in some places it's Kaiser, right? In some places it's Cleveland Clinic. But a hallmark of those is the convenience of getting as many specialists as possible in one place. Oh, just come here and see everyone. So we intend to have only 1 or 2 GPs per location, and the rest will be rotating specialists. And that specialist could be there 1 day per week or all day or multiple days, but it's meant to be a combination of you can get whoever you need in one place. And it's not only doctors, like I'm getting ready to hire a nurse practitioner, but nurse practitioners and PAs in private practice can also operate alongside us. Initially, we kind of looked at having other things like acupuncture, massage therapy. I know a lot of people are very much into holistic healthcare. If believe it or not, my insurance company made me take holistic off the website. They said,
Really?
that's a problem. You can't say, I said, well, I'm treating the whole person. I'm not just here to prescribe pills. And they had a
Mhm.
problem with that. But I'm very much appreciative of not just pills and things, but what other ways can we take care of our health? So it's not just GPs and it's not just physicians as well. And so the second question is, does Honeycomb lease or own the facilities? Currently lease, but we are looking at models where we will own and lease in the future. And we have owned in the past as well. And so let's see,
Looks
another
like Rashida had another question about the medical equipment.
hold on, I might have missed that one. Oh, will Honeycomb lease any medical equipment? So they would be required for their own equipment. But we had like an ultrasound machine. If they want to use the ultrasound machine, they can use that if it's there. But we don't, that's not included in our package. That would be too challenging. Like right now, we have an endodontist that wants to join. She would have to outfit her whole room because dentist equipment is so specialized. It's $100,000 in equipment. So we do not lease to them. But they can bring in any equipment they choose.
Okay.
Next question. Let's see. Someone sharing that they had experience where they felt like a lab rat. Trust me, I understand. I felt like that myself in the doctor's office and want to avoid that. I've also worked for clinics where we were given 10 minutes to see the patient, and that's 10 minutes to review the chart, see the patient, and write the prescriptions, which means really 2 or 3 minutes with the patient.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry you had that experience, and I totally understand. Um, let's see here.
I see a couple in the Q&A section. So Jackie said, I love this opportunity and I
Okay.
need to be part of this kind of service. Do you have plans for franchises in California? And then also, are you planning on partnering with Black-owned medical tech and Black-owned resorts?
So, the first question for California, We are open to franchising anywhere in the United States someone's willing to bring it, and beyond, because I really believe that there are opportunities for us in the Caribbean, in Africa, but we're open to any location, and we will help you with finding the perfect location in those cities as well. The second part about tech, can you repeat that question about partnering?
She said, are you planning on partnering with Black-owned medical tech and Black-owned resorts?
So medical tech, interesting that you say that. I actually attended the Afrotech conference last year, and we're looking at all the different ways that we can incorporate AI to improve efficiency within Honeycomb, as well as I mentioned, bringing building our own app. So that med tech space, we really want to integrate and land in there. So the answer to that is yes. And the answer to resorts, that's not an opportunity that has come up so far. A lot of these opportunities, like partnering with hotels and resorts, really takes having a contact. So if we had a franchisee who had that contact, or an investor who is in the hospitality industry, absolutely we would be interested, but that's just not a contact that we have. And I see for Anonymous says, what EMR do we use? We use Athena Health.
Okay, very good. I want to also talk a little bit about the business component. And congratulations on the accomplishment. I mean, to get your MBA, finish residency and having a baby. It's just like, oh my goodness, you are unstoppable. And if that was not enough to make people understand what you are capable of, then they are crazy. But I want to talk about the business wraparound too, right? I
Okay.
mean, you're allowing doctors to be doctors, and you're taking the rest of the headache literally off of their shoulder. Let's talk about that a little bit so that people can understand what that really means, right? To not have to worry about your office staff, to not have to worry about insurance and how all of that works just by yourself. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's huge in this
Yeah,
area.
absolutely. So honestly, having done it start to finish in terms of being able to um run a practice, see patients, it is really challenging to do both. And before I opened Honeycomb, I did a lot of coaching. So I coached physicians to open their practices, helped a lot of physicians from the very beginning to opening. And I would see a lot of people open and close, open and close, open and close. And I'm like, what is the problem? And then I realized I was helping them set up the business, but they weren't capable of really running the business because they didn't have that capacity. So when it comes to, if you were to, it's almost like franchising, even though we haven't franchised, they come in knowing what phone system you use, what EMR to use, what malpractice to get. They don't have to worry about any supplies. You don't have to go out and buy a expensive copy machine. You don't have to go buy these phones that are like $500 each. You don't have to worry about your cyber security. You don't have to worry about setting up your own Wi-Fi account. You don't have to worry about all this overhead. It's just like plug and play.
Wow.
So it's a game changer to be able to be independent, but not have to go it alone. And then I see here, Shelton would love to connect with you. I'm going to get your number. I'm not available this weekend, but I will text you and email you, and maybe we can set up something for a future visit. I am a mom and I have my son every other weekend, so this is his weekend.
Nice work-life balance, got to have it. It is
Yes, yes,
critical. So let's talk about what the funds are going to be used for.
yes.
Let's go over that. So how are you going to use the investment funds raised through this campaign?
Absolutely. So like many companies, when you franchise, that's one avenue, but we're still building and growing. So we currently have one location in Houston. Our next location we want to open is in Miami, independent of franchising. And so the use of funds would be to open our second location. And that's going to be everything from finding the location, whether we lease or buy. That has to do with how successful our franchises. You have to hire a team. So having an office manager for that new location, all your startup supplies, buying exam tables, computers, everything that you need in that location. And we're also trying to build our leadership team. So as I mentioned on the beginning of the call, we just hired a COO, but we are hoping to also hire a CFO as well. And so being able to continue to grow the business, the more we have to put into it to develop our app, that's some of the things we would use the fund for: building out a team, app development, in our next location.
Very good. What other, outside of investments, right, and us sharing this campaign link, what does Honeycomb Clinic need?
I think the biggest thing is, as you said, you're sharing the investment opportunity is for people to know that we exist, right? So being a small company, you have to allocate your resources. And every time we have someone share Honeycomb, that's $1 less we have to use into promoting the business. So any sharing of the company is extremely helpful. And we are recruiting for our board of directors as well. So if there's anyone that's interested in serving on a board or possibly in an advisory capacity, we definitely are always welcoming skills, talent, and leadership to the team as well.
Very good. Patrice is asking, why Miami for the second location?
I'm a Miami girl. But it's bigger than emotional. So I actually partnered with the University of Houston Business School, and we did an analysis of, I gave them 3 cities, and I gave them the cities where we have the most investors, because the more investors you have in the city, the more people we have to push when we land there. And the top 3 cities were Atlanta, New Orleans, and Miami. And based on number of doctors, number of need of doctors, cost of real estate, Miami landed at the top. And so for those who may not know Miami, huge city, everybody wants to move there. Not a lot of us practicing medicine, and certainly not a lot in private practice. I'm from Opa-locka, which they now call Miami Gardens, but within a 10-mile, probably 15-mile radius of my mother's house, there are no Black doctors, right? And so I think, actually, let me correct that. The last time I was home, I think I saw one open, but the largest provider in that area is an Asian doctor, right? And so even in our own communities, we're not providing care for our own. And so just based on the connections, the doctors I know, and the research we actually did on the area, Miami is a great next stop.
Nice. I spent my summers in Opa-locka. My grandmother moved to Opa-locka from New York, and I spent my summers, yeah,
Look at that. Usually when I tell people Opa-locka, they give me this blank stare. I'm like, Miami Gardens, whatever, because
and I didn't
nobody
even know
knows.
that was new to me. I was like, Miami Garden, I didn't know they had a separate name, but yeah, I sure did.
Well, Miami Gardens is kind of like, growing up, it was north of Opa-locka, but then they tried to loop us in, politics, zoning. And so we literally got a letter like, don't write Opa-locka on your mail anymore. And we're like, but it's still Opa-locka.
One of the
And
things that
so
we do.
I
Oh,
see
go ahead.
another question. Are you
Mhm.
open to working with phlebotomists? Like she said, Opa-locka lives, and it's a Tish. Yes, absolutely. We're open to working with
Hey.
phlebotomists as well. So please definitely reach out to me.
Very, very good.
Yep.
One of the things around here that we absolutely love to do, Dr. Rowe, is make connections, right?
Yep.
We talk to a lot of people here over the last 5 years of doing business, and we see where there could be some synergies. I've already introduced you to LaShawn at iHealth Clinical. I know you guys are getting
Yep.
ready to talk. I'm going to also do an invitation to an amazing couple. They are both anesthesiologists. They actually had a campaign where we helped them raise money. They're building a hotel in Belize, but
Nice.
they are anesthesiologists. I'm going to make that introduction to you because I think
Love it.
they're going to love this. And then also, we have recently made a connection with a gentleman that is the CEO of a company called CareMinder.
Okay.
And they're using technology in a really cool way that could also help at the clinic. So,
Okay.
we just love making connections because you just never know where there could be something big happening, right? When two people come together. So, look for
Absolutely.
those introductions to come as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I see she said Black Project 2025. I have followed that since they started, so thank you. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. The questions were amazing, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with some of you.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Talisha, did we have any questions in the Facebook stream?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any final questions for Dr. Rowe? Let me just look and make sure I don't have any additional questions written down. Oh, I do. What's the physician capacity?
So it varies by location, but in Houston, we have room for 6 more full-time, but that could be up to 20 part-time. So it just depends on how many days of the week the person needs.
Okay. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Very good. This was absolutely amazing. The way we typically end these sessions, we'll give the community a few more minutes to put their questions in if they think of any final questions. But we usually close it out with our call to action. I will start us and then I'll let you take us home. But here at the 10K Project, we definitely understand the importance of coming together and not only having an opportunity to build our own portfolio with amazing projects, right? But to see the value in our Black founders and the work that they're doing and to help them meet their goals. And so the first thing I always tell the community is even outside of investing, right? We know they need to do their due diligence, make the determination if you fit in their portfolio. But outside of that, sharing of this campaign, right, I think is even more important than
I agree.
investing,
I
right?
agree.
Because the more people that see this campaign, a couple of things are going to happen in this situation, right? The more people that see the campaign, there's the Honeycomb Clinic recognition, so that as they see these pop up in their cities, they already know what they are, they're anticipating them, and they're becoming patients, right? So
Yeah.
there's that. But then there's also for the physicians out there, right, who may come across this campaign, who have been looking for a home like you've built for them, right?
Yeah.
Right. They are burnt out working at the hospital that doesn't respect them, value them, and is considerate of their time, right? And so they too need to know about you. So not just from a patient standpoint, the physicians need to know you exist
Yeah.
so that they can find a home and a safe space in you. Then there's also, the more obvious of the more eyes you get on the campaign, the more people that will consider investing. And out of those numbers, the more, more will. And so, we come together to start that for you, right? The goal here is that I share my network with you, and then they share theirs with you as well. And we just keep that going like like wildfires. And so to the 10K Project community, please share, right? Post it on LinkedIn, post it on all your social platforms. Send those family group texts y'all be sending with all the annoying stuff. Send this in a group text, right? tell your family about this opportunity. These are the kind of things we need to do. We don't have a lot of healthcare in our 10K Project portfolio. I think we have like maybe 3-4 companies out of 170 that we've highlighted in the last 5 years. And so these are the opportunities that last forever, right? Healthcare is not going anywhere, right? We're an aging population,
Yep.
right? And so
Recession proof.
and we're going to need care, right? And the other part of this is, and we touched on it a little bit. Dr. Rowe touched on it a little bit. She was very subtle when she touched on it, but I know y'all picked up what she was putting down just like I did. Imagine a space where you can go into a doctor's office and they look like you, they talk like you, they understand the things you don't say, right?
Yep.
That's huge, right? They can sense something else is going on because they see you, right?
Yeah.
Having a safe space like that is huge. And imagine if we had more than one place to choose like that, right? Imagine if there, just like there's a Walgreens on every corner, imagine if there was a honeycomb clinic, multiple in our cities, right? That we could go to, and we had the pick of where we wanted to go and feel safe like that, right? With all the specialties that we need. Imagine that kind of place. And we have the ability to not just imagine it, but to make it real life, right? We can realize it by doing our part. And so my ask of you, my call to action is that you continue to do what you do every time we bring an amazing Black founder here. You do your due diligence, you decide if they fit in your portfolio. If they do, then you do the next step, right? This is a testing the waters campaign, as I stated. So if you're feeling good about what you've seen, go ahead and do your reservation, right? And then once all the legal paperwork is filed, and then it's time for you to turn that reservation into an actual investment, you will receive an email where you can reconfirm, right? And so anyone who does that, when you get that email, don't ignore that email. You got to reconfirm, right? You got to do that part. That part finalizes everything. But go ahead and do that. But again, more than anything else, please share this email. I mean, the email that we're going to send you, share the link to the campaign, talk about it, right? Talk about this amazing place you just heard about. For all of you that live in the Houston area, Eddie, I see you out here, right? For all of you that live in Houston, what you waiting for? You need to be jotting down the number so you can see what physicians she got in there, and you can see if they take your plan information. And this is a place that was built for you. So consider becoming patients. If you already have doctors, right, that you think may be comfortable in this space, tell them about it, so that they can consider maybe leaving where they are. But we have to do, this is one of those opportunities, in my opinion, where we can't just log off tonight and just go back to normal. Like this one, guys, like we got to talk about this one. Like we got to really do the work on this one, because this is huge. This one is going to change lives, save lives, and make people have better quality of life, in my opinion.
Yeah. And there's an anonymous question that I'd like to address. She says something about exiting to Amazon seems counter to your mission. And so I want to address that, because when I did that slide, it was before the climate we're in. I don't even shop on Amazon. So that slide needs to be updated, because I don't mess with them at all. And I was an Amazon regular. So I do want to say that at the time, I do believe exiting is always an option, because if you study the most successful founders, at the end of the day, you build something that sustains and goes beyond you. Often that does involve an exit, right? We saw what happened to Slutty Vegan, where she sold her company, had to buy it back. And that happens quite often, because if you choose the wrong person to give it to, then they can take it and do things with it. So I would say scratch Amazon, because honestly, ethically, I don't with them. But is an exit possible? Yes, because we can grow things to a certain point, right? I follow the founder of Blavity. They got funding from Google Ventures. There are ways that we can partner and still keep our integrity and keep our mission. But I would never say to investors that we're never going to sell, because that's not up to me. I started it, I have the vision, but once you bring other people in, that's a joint decision. And I would never say it's not on the table.
No, I love that you addressed that. The other thing investors have to remember, right? And we get this all the time when we talk about exit right here at the 10K Project. We are so passionate and we're so excited when Black founders do amazing things. We want to keep it to ourselves, right? But the truth is, as investors, oftentimes the only way you get a return is with an exit, if there are going to be some kind of dividends, or if a company goes public, right?
Yeah.
So think about that as well from an investment standpoint. Sometimes the exit is how the wealth is built, right? And then it allows these amazing founders to go on and do that next best thing that they have it on their mind, right? Because most founders are not one and done. When we talk to a lot of founders, even a lot of founders that don't come here and pitch at the 10K Project, but just in general, founders, many of them, the more successful ones, have had multiple successful exits.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they've got they got to nurture this baby here, but they got 5 more babies in their brain that they want to be able to do, and you can't do all the businesses at once. Trust me, I'm tried. It doesn't work. You got to focus
I
on.
agree. I agree. I have apps in my head that I'm like, that comes later.
Yeah, yeah. And
Awesome.
so
But
multiple exits definitely happen, but you gotta sometimes exit in order to get there. So, I
yeah,
think we while we're passionate and protective, right, of
yeah.
these amazing Black businesses, we have to be mindful that from an investment standpoint, exits are not a terrible thing.
Yeah. And they clarified saying that it wasn't about exiting, more like Amazon. And that was an outdated slide. So taking them off.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well,
Very
thank you,
good.
everyone.
Thank you. Dr. Rowe, anything else you want to say before we say goodnight?
No, I'm just very grateful for the space. And I want to thank you and the 10K Project for, I said this to you one-on-one, and I just want to say it to you publicly. We need this. And the fact that you've created it and created this space for us as founders to have a opportunity to reach people who want to invest in us. So often you feel like you're pitching and pitching and pitching, and people are willing to hear you, but they really aren't trying to invest in you. So to know that you have a space where this is what we want to do. And we have a group of 15,000 Black doctors, and I shared the 10K Project with them and said, if you all are looking for investments, please follow this group because it's bigger than me. And I want others to see the others that are coming after me and before me, and know that, doctors, we're creating this, but we also want to sow into others as well.
Thank you so very much for that. And to this community, $100 is the minimum, right? I'm not a broker. I can't tell you to invest, but I can tell you that that probably equals 2 movie tickets, popcorn, and some Twizzlers, right? And if you could forego a little entertainment for a night, right, for a weekend, if you can forego eating out, if you could forego, people always talk about the $5 cup coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but if you could forego that for a couple of coffee days, right? But in my opinion, we have to make sacrifices in order to get ahead, right? And sometimes the sacrifices are inconveniencing, but they're small in the grand scheme of living, right? So $100 is the minimum. I want you to remember that. And maybe you want to do more, and maybe you can't do more this week, right? But you want to do more. The good news is the campaign is open. We didn't talk about the
Yeah.
time frame, but how, the Form C is not filed yet. So we know the
It's not
campaign is going to
filed.
be
Yeah.
open for a while, right?
So it's ongoing. So you help us decide when it closes, because the sooner we hit 50, that's when the clock
right.
starts
That's
ticking.
when it's going to start to
So
open up. So you can re-up, right? You
yeah,
do 100 this week, and then next week you do another 100, right? And
yeah,
so eventually you could get up to 500 or 1,000, right? The other thing is, we've talked about this, but I always want to remind you, when you think about those larger amounts, don't forget you can use your IRAs, right? If you've got
oh yeah,
self-directed IRAs, you can use
yeah,
those. We don't talk enough about the other money we can tap into. And so consider that as an option, right? So a lot of times we think, oh, I don't have it, but you've got this money sitting there. It's for retirement, right? You are allowed to invest it because that is also for retirement. And so it's allowable to use it. So really sit back, assess, and decide what you can do. But if this is something you're interested in, don't let small obstacles get in your way. Figure out how to overcome them. So, with that said, I thank you again. I'm a firm believer that time is something we can't get back. It is the most valuable thing that we give. The fact that you decided to come and hang out with us, give us your time, tell us about this amazing project, and more importantly, allow us to be a part of the journey, right? Allow us to build wealth alongside of you. That's huge because we are everyday investors, right? We're not rich people, right? But we want to make a difference for our families so we can have better lives today. And so to have founders come into an investment crowdfunding space, because we know it's not easy raising money this way, right? Yeah. So for you to spend your time knowing that it's taking more time as you're saving lives. I mean, you are a practicing physician and you have to do this on the side. We are grateful for that opportunity.
thank you.
We really, really are. So thank you very, very much, Dr. Rowe.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Y'all know what y'all supposed to be doing. You don't understand the assignment. Get to it. Get to it. Chop, chop.
Good
All
night,
right.
everyone.
Have a good evening. I love you guys so much. Thank you for supporting the 10K project, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.